Hi, I'm Dr. Lindy. Welcome to our Writing Workshop series. In Writing Workshop number 2, we go over the component parts of a slightly more sophisticated persuasive or argumentative essay. Welcome to Essay Jack's Writing Workshop number 2. Now in Writing Workshop 1, we introduced you to the big idea about what is a scholarly essay, what is a persuasive or argumentative essay. For Writing Workshop 2, we're going to look at what's a more complicated essay, something that's a little bit longer than the 500-word essay we looked at in Writing Workshop 1. So let's get started with this essay draft that's going to be a little bit more complicated than the one we looked at in Writing Workshop 1. So once again, somebody's given me an assignment, I have to write an essay, and they've given me the topic. So for Writing Workshop 2, we're going to use a sample topic, which is whether or not students should use mobile devices in the classroom. So my keywords, mobile devices, classroom, and learning. Should students use mobile devices in the class? That is the assignment question I have been given. It's been given by me, Professor Lindy. It's going to be an 800-word essay, and it'll be due a couple of weeks from now. So now let's create the essay draft. Once again, as a review, in Writing Workshop 1, we look at the overview of the essay and all of its component parts. So if you need a refresher on that, go back to Writing Workshop 1. For now, I just want to point out that you'll see for an 800-word essay, the Essay Jack platform is suggesting I'll probably have 4 points for that. Once again, it's just a suggestion. I might need more or I might need fewer points to make my argument around students' use of mobile devices. Essay Jack, as usual, has its 3 component parts. Jump in, what's your focus? Is that focusing question, the tips and prompts on the right, and the transitions that get me started. So let's pretend I've already started this essay and I'm moving along and I want to show you some of the more advanced features that comprise the meat of Writing Workshop 2. I've gone in and I've opened up an essay that's a little bit more fully populated so that we can look at some of the extra features that are going to be important to Writing Workshop 2. So we've got our topic that is filled in here. There's a debate among teachers on whether or not cell phone use or mobile devices are helpful or disruptive in class settings. So that's my topic, and now let's go along. I've provided a bit of background. Once again, if you need a review on what background is, have a look at Writing Workshop number 1. It just sets the stage for the argument that I'm going to build. Now, since this is Writing Workshop 2, I want to highlight some of the extra features that a more complicated essay is going to require. So for instance, we're going to see these more complicated additional features appearing to the right of the citation button. So in this case, in my introductory paragraph for this more complex essay, I'm going to want to provide some extended background. Now, what is extended background? It gives more details or context, usually involving references to outside sources. So as a reminder, this essay draft is about whether or not students should be able to use cell phones or mobile devices in the classroom, and whether or not that's going to be helpful for them. And I've said at the beginning here, for background, some argue that students are too easily distracted, and on the other hand, mobile devices, including phones, can improve student success in the class. So I've set up 2 positions. Now, because this is a more advanced essay, it's up to me to identify some scholars or some references that represent those 2 positions. So that is what I'm going to do in this extended background section. I will say, consider the major ideas informing this question as set out by, and now I'm going to provide a scholar who believes that mobile devices should not be used in the classroom, and then I'm going to provide the opposing view from somebody who believes that students should be able to use mobile devices in the classroom. So that's one of the additional features that we want to highlight for you in Writing Workshop 2. In addition, once I've filled out a little bit of extended background and set the stage, set the scholarly stage by bringing in these 2 outside sources, I want to move along to the thesis statement. Once again, as a reminder, you can see Writing Workshop 1 that gives you a little bit more information on the importance of a thesis statement, and I'll just reiterate it here. The thesis statement is the argument that I'm going to make, that I'm going to convince somebody by the time they reach the end of my 800-word essay on whether or not students should be able to use mobile devices in the classroom. So one of the other features that I want to highlight in Writing Workshop 2 here for the thesis statement section is we have a function where you can email your thesis to somebody to get review. We like to think of this as the "Am I on the right track" button. So perhaps your teacher, your TA, your instructor, your prof, your tutor, maybe even your mom is willing to have a look at something that you've got in progress. Now, one of the key principles behind good writing is that you're always writing for an audience. And so if you want to be able to send your thesis statement to somebody who can be a representative of that audience for you, you can do that right here. Enter in someone's email address at someplace.com. And then what Essay Jack will do is it will send them the entire introductory paragraph so far with the thesis statement bolded. And that way you can get review from somebody you trust to let you know whether or not you're on the right track. Now, as we move through this essay draft for Writing Workshop number 2, we move along to body section number 1. So my point here is to get started, we will look at some of the data where mobile devices have been used in schools. That's my point. That's what this paragraph or this section is going to be about. I've provided some background. A study done in US classrooms examined mobile use. Students who used mobile devices in their classrooms said they found their work improving. And I've got some data here to support that. Now, what I want to highlight as well is that at the end of the introduction of a first piece of evidence and explanation for that evidence, for more advanced essays, you can have more evidence and more explanation, and that can go on indefinitely. So for instance, I want to highlight here that as you start moving beyond the 500-word essay that we talked about in Writing Workshop 1, you may have more and more evidence, more and more data that you need to bring to bear, which might mean that each of those points will correspond to a longer section as opposed to just one paragraph. So what I might add here is some further data, some further information on how students report their use of mobile devices in the classroom are helping them out. I can continue to add more evidence and more explanation indefinitely until I've provided all of the evidence that is required for a more complex essay like this one that's going to be around 800 words. Once again, once I get to the end of my essay, I can look at it in its completed form as a draft with my works cited, indicating where I've got my evidence from. And now I can take this essay draft and I can email it to myself, share it, download it, and move it on to the final word processing stage of finalization. So thanks very much. This brings us to the end of Writing Workshop number 2.